Again, a new flashback episode. But since the first one is my all-time favorite episode of Revenge, this cannot be said about this particular episode. I mean, I like that we get to see Aiden's backstory and how they framed it with the two getting back together in the present. But the whole plot about this Russian girl traffic ring and Emily going undercover was not my thing. That felt like a whole different show. If her Homeland and FBI stunt from season 1 and 3 was anything more than a cover, this episode would have been much more fitting. The whole revenge mission could have been an undercover project and she not only one of Takeda's students but a real detective. However, Takeda made such a mess and was a very bad organizer of that mission. And I hate Emily's hairstyle in this. I know they had to find a way to show it is another period in her life. But this haircut does not suit her at all. And the nutty dresses may have been a suitable camouflage for Emily, but she really did look like a cliché of a young prostitute from the East. Now to the Grayson storyline. As I said before, I really hate the idea of Daniel trying to be a poet. For once I am aligned with Conrad, who thinks it is a waste of time and his money. What I really love in this episode is how they shed a light on Victoria's backstory with her mother. It maybe was a little too conventional, but I could conceive the idea of such a violent trauma that lead to Victoria's mistrust and her need for security. And in this coat with the leopard print, Marion Harper surely looks like a con artist. Spoiler alert 1. Maybe this is a reason. 2. Why Victoria is so profoundly convinced in season 3 Emily is a fraud. Because her mother had been one and Victoria did not know another lifestyle as a kid. Spoiler alert 2. And I really love that they at least brought Victoria's mother back in the last episodes. The elaborate plot with her mother dying and how Victoria used the corpse was really a great tribute to this lady. About the first flashbacks with young Victoria. It was nice to see Victoria as a young girl. Besides Emily and Jack, of course, she is the only character we see in such an early age. It was refreshing to see someone else as a young adult than Amanda. Underlines the importance of Victoria as an adversary for Emily. I really love the actress who portrays young Victoria. She is just so sweet but has already a broad range of displaying all emotions from grief to disgust and sheer horror. The story with Victoria's mother seemed nearly like the story of Snow White. Because Marion assumes that her daughter steals the attention of her man. Only that the twist of this story was that the man actually was more interested in her daughter since he was a pedophile. And the shocking end, of course. I think Victoria never recovered from this trauma that her mother pulled her through. About Ashley. This flashback with her was really interesting and I think they did not take full advantage of her backstory. Ashley was not that much visible in this season besides her strong beginning as Daniel's girlfriend and later her colluding with Conrad. In season 1 she was more involved with Tyler and Emily, and since the two got estranged so her screen time was reduced. Beside this episode they never spoke about her past again. Which is a little odd, as her past as a nearly prostitute and someone Emily gave a new fortune is something worth mentioning. And Aiden's mistrust towards her background was something that got nowhere too. Was it a red herring, or should Aiden's mistrust just show how much attention he pays to Emily's environment? Why did they not follow this path further? Maybe it could have led to an interesting secret of Ashley. Like, why does Aiden ask all those questions about Ashley, and why did he dance with her 2 episodes before? Just to distract her and give Emily more time with Daniel, or to get more information about her? I can understand that Aiden forgot that he saw her 6 years ago at the lineup for this Russian dude. But they could have definitely come up with something interesting about these 2 characters. Ashley as the one who was very close to Emily in season 1. And Aiden as the one who becomes more and more close with Emily in season 2. They are both from England and land in this Russian club. A little odd for just a coincidence, don't you think? What is still open for me is, did Ashley actually see Emily? Or did she get to know her later after landing the job in the Hamptons for Victoria? In the pilot it seems as if Ashley and Emily are friends for a long time. So did they meet when they did not meet here? Since Ashley will surely forget about this day and never talked about it to anyone else, I assume she did not know that Emily was the one who saved her that day. About the Porter storyline, though I did not like the storyline about the Ryan brothers, they really found a good frame for it. And I was happy to see Jack's father back. He really passed away too soon. I already mentioned it in the relevant episode, but I say it again. I really would have liked to see him react to Fomanda and Emily and how Jack's life was moving forward. Reminds me of how I miss my father and how they mirror this with Emily's loss. Her father was not there to see how she was growing up. Anyway, it was nice to see what was behind the revenge plot of the Ryan brothers. And I must admit that their need for revenge is not unjustified. But in the end, revenge or vendetta, as some Turkish families even here in Germany conduct, always leads to a vicious cycle of ever more violence. About Nolan's plot, I like that they use this episode as well to introduce a new character from Nolan's past. Since he is losing his company, it was only fair to show how all started. Though I must admit I wish we had seen more flashbacks with David and Nolan. I always regretted that we never saw the moment when Nolan got that check from David. That must have been such a game changer for him and their relationship. And I think he never saw little Amanda before David was arrested. Would have been interesting to see Nolan with the adorable and sweet version of Amanda, so that he would know the difference. However, it was nice to see that Nolan actually had a relationship that worked before all that mess with Tyler. So he was not always this alone and isolated as we seen him in Season 1. About Aiden's sister Coleen, I know many do not like all those backstories in Season 2. And for me it was too cramped with all those stuff about Padma, Nolan and Victoria too. But these two storylines I really enjoyed: Victoria's past with her mother and the kidnapping of Aiden's sister. Because he is new and Takeda's student, too, they had to find a backstory for him. And that his father was involved with the initiative and a victim of them like David was just too close to Emily's situation. So I was happy that they came up with his sister and the kidnapping story. First of all, it makes him in the same way a victim as Emily, since she lost two people, her mother and her dad. And second, it gives him a more healthy and positive reason to fight back. He wants to save his sister and bring her back to his mother. About Aiden running her mission, it is funny how he always screw things up in Season 2. He has really bad luck. That Emily immediately wants to save him instead of cancel the whole mission shows that she is not that ice-cold and callously as she wants everyone to believe. Cause she does not know Aiden yet and just wants to help him because he is the brother of the girl who was lost in sex traffic. About Victoria's revenge, again they show what a good team Victoria and Conrad are when they are actually working together to reach a common goal. I think that might have been the overall theme for the Grayson couple in this season. In Season 1 they had a big crisis not only because of Conrad's affair with Lydia but also because Victoria's conscience was suddenly back, and she mourned David's death even more after she learned Conrad was responsible for his murder. So by faking her own death it seemed as she would not turn back. But as they reunited against Gordon Murphy and the initiative, that was the cement for their renewed teamwork. So again I think Conrad made the threat of the initiative at least bigger than she really was in order to regain Victoria's trust and love. Anyway, I like that Victoria not just tells us the story but that we see it, so there can be no doubt what was really the truth. Spoiler alert. In Season 4 it always bothered me that Emily retold the lie of Victoria's mother. I know she did not know better because the research she did could not bring up the truth since it was Victoria's secret alone. Only Victoria, her mother and Conrad knew the truth, and after this dinner Daniel, too. It is so cruel that her mother failed twice to protect her. First, she used Victoria to get out of a hopeless situation she herself created. And second, she chose a pedophilic man twice over her daughter. Marion should have thrown the man who molested her daughter out, not Victoria. About Aiden's revenge, I was thrilled to see them both in action. They really captured how skilled Emily already was. Evident that she was not finished with her training. And they show how dangerous and impulsive Aiden can be. That he executes the Russian kidnapper of his sister instead of listening to Emily was a big mistake. They could have really get some information out of him, and I think he was afraid of that and the initiative. So he pushed the right buttons to let Aiden shoot him. About Nolan's big secret, I will never understand this breakup. He does not lie to him and is honest instead of making something up where the money went. That must count for anything, maybe not for his official position as CFO, but for their relationship. I can understand his reaction about David Clarke and that Nolan made it a secret who his first investor was. But as he told him, it was for the daughter of this alleged terrorist that made absolutely no change for him. Why did he not understand that Nolan wanted to help this innocent girl? And he is right, the money is something like her heritage, it is rightfully hers, like the beach house. So why in the world should Nolan steal that money from her? From his point of view, I can totally understand why Nolan draws the line here and throws him out of the company and his life. But the reaction of his friend and colleague I cannot understand at all. About Aiden's and Emily's conversation. I really like Aiden's motives, they are more pure than Emily's. He is fearless and brave like her, but she is so full of hatred. I think they both had a really good balance. He is that hot-tempered and impulsive, not thinking things through. And she is this cold and overthinking person who never does something without a plan in mind. I just love how he corrects himself. First he is talking about his family, but then he says ours, so that they from now on form an union. And here comes the frame. I must admit that I always thought like Aiden that Takeda only sent Emily on this mission to meet Aiden. You might say that Takeda could not know that Aiden was on his own private revenge mission. But he surely had observed the place and must have stumbled over Aiden since he researched his family history for the background on Coleen. Maybe Aiden was his plan B if Emily did not succeed. I am still wondering how many students Takeda trained for his personal revenge. If it was just Emily and Aiden, that was no big deal. But if he really founded a revenge school for this, that is a huge effort just for revenging the death of a beloved fiancé. Anyway, I like this little chat between the two, that Amanda fought for him so that they could both train as Takeda's students. That makes his trust breach at the end of their training even graver. And his promise is just so sweet and even more sad that he could not keep it. Spoiler alert. In Season 4 we hear his promise that he will never leave her again, and calling her Amanda as a voiceover before the heartbreaking flashback in which Amanda is finding him dead in the finale of Season 3. Now I cannot watch this scene without thinking about his cruel fate. About Amanda giving Aiden her infinity box. This was a huge step. Only Nolan and her father knew what was in that box. Now she is letting Aiden as well in on her past. In order to understand her better and get the full picture not only about the conspiracy but about the girl Amanda was and left behind for her revenge ender. I like how they both skim over the infinity symbol on the wooden box. Shows that Aiden knows exactly how important it is for Emily. But her remark about the double infinity symbol as a journey with no end was surely a signal to the audience that the show will keep up for longer. However, some way and sometime her journey had to end.